Hi, I'm Beena Patel, a physician associate turned spiritual mentor, quantum healer, women's coach, and speaker. Welcome to The Voice That Sees. This podcast is an intimate dialogue on topics ranging from science and spirituality to alternative forms of healing, vulnerable storytelling, the esoteric ancient wisdom, the power of individual transformation, and how it impacts the collective evolution of humanity. Each episode, you will learn how to evolve by shifting your mindset and ways of being, express your vulnerability to heal and transform, and channel your emotions into self-expression, creating a greater impact in the world. Let's continue your journey together. Welcome to this episode of The Voice That Sees. Today's episode is all about ancient wisdom and some of these more ancient, long-known philosophies, many of them from Eastern traditions, which have been passed along for centuries and generations to help humanity remember that we're all whole and we came as whole beings onto this planet. And as we remember our connection to nature and to the natural elements of this planet, which many indigenous tribes are very keen on doing, they have this higher sense of awareness and a feeling very interconnected to the different systems, nature, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom. As we start to also remember this truth, returning to where it all began, the origins, we're going to see a shift in what healthcare looks like and what holistic health and well-being looks like for each person as well as for the collective. And so my journey as a clinician and also working in different roles in the healthcare system since I was 17, I've learned that there's a lot of different dynamics that play out in healthcare with insurance, with annual exams, with a lot of people not really understanding how the healthcare system works, or even wanting to explore annual visits and screenings and things like that. And so a lot of times people didn't really go to see the doctor or some form of clinician until they actually had a physical ailment. And when they were told that they would have to go on a certain type of treatment, or maybe they would have to think about something down the road, many patients didn't have enthusiasm for this. I noticed it. First of all, a lot of people don't want to take medications. This is known. And the other reason being that it can be costly. And some of these treatments can be lifelong. And so that requires money. And that's an additional expense. So I'm noticing all these different changes and different systems around me. And something I'm also noticing is that the same people providing a lot of this care are also burnt out and don't agree with certain aspects of the healthcare system. And so I found myself very confused when I initially became a physician assistant, because I just felt that the system was made in a way that not only did patients feel frustrated, but also healthcare providers. And so no one was really winning. And for years, I really took a step back and did not want to re-enter it. I thought, this is wild, and it's just a system that doesn't really support anyone's well-being. So why would I be part of this? And what happened in this next evolution of my own journey, and what's also transpired by spending so much time in nature and the beautiful jungles of Costa Rica, is that I realized the system is not the one to blame. Systems have been largely created by humanity. And if we're the ones creating these systems, we can also change them. Now, these systems have been ingrained into our society for a very long time. So will the shift happen overnight? Absolutely not. Will it happen over a couple of years? No. However, if we all start to take self-leadership and self-empowerment over our own holistic health and well-being, we're going to see a more rapid shift that happens individually for each person, which then ripples out into their communities, their neighboring surroundings, and then that will keep echoing out onto the planet, as more and more people are learning that, yes, it's beautiful that we have Western medicine that can provide so much for people on the corner of just about every street. Not everywhere, I don't want to make that generalization, but we do have greater access to healthcare in the United States, for instance, than other parts of the world. And that's beautiful. And then there's Eastern traditions, which look at things like Chinese medicine, wanting to get to the root cause of a certain disease. There's the beautiful Ayurveda, which is this ancient Indian system philosophy rooted in an ancient science where, yes, you look at doshas like kapha, pitta, vata, and we can make different choices based on what's our most predominant dosha. And it's often more than just one. And yet, a lot of these systems are also, or philosophies, are also teaching us that the wisdom is in our body and that our bodies are actually quite intuitive. And so is the mind. If we take some time to pause, to breathe, to bring deeper presence into the body and allow the body to communicate to us, we can understand why there might be a sudden, for instance, a skin flare-up. For instance, acne. Acne doesn't just happen. And one of the things I've seen in clients is if they're experiencing something when it comes to a skin rash or acne, it can be anger and resentment manifested in the form of a pimple or even a pustule. And so it doesn't mean that they don't need medications. The medications can help. However, if they don't get to some of the deeper things that have caused that physical ailment or the symptom, then that could just reoccur. And so I feel that there's validity to both systems, both Eastern traditions as well as the Western medicine. And it can go even deeper, which is that there's another tradition called shamanism. And a lot of indigenous tribes practice this. There are many shamans among indigenous tribes. And this tradition involves the spirit. So energy healing is something that I talk about, something that I also do. And through Reiki, through moving energy, we're able to help clients and people release blockages in the chakras, the different energy centers in the body. For instance, the sacral chakra is a huge and very important chakra for sexuality and creativity. And it's also where a lot of our sex organs are physically located, and also our womb for women. And so we hold a lot of wisdom in this area. And many people will notice different sensations in that area when it comes to their intuition. If something feels right, they get a intuitive nudge as in, yes, it's time to move forward with this. And it's also very helpful in being able to birth projects and new creative ideas. When that energy is free flowing through the sacral chakra, that divine energy, our creative potential, we're able to move with the current of creativity and go from one step to the next until the creation is fully formed. Now, this also means that we need our other chakras in balance too. It's not that one chakra is more important than the other. It's just to signify the importance of what this particular chakra helps us move forward with. And yet, if that chakra is blocked, you may see that some people may notice symptoms as in feeling decreased libido, feeling that they're blocked in their creativity, that no ideas are really coming to them, feeling that they can't express themselves creatively. And so people will notice this. And it's not just something that happens when a woman has an ovarian cyst or some type of issue with the womb. There are things happening. And the reality is, as we came onto this planet, our divine blueprint was something we inherited just by being on this planet. We had a divine blueprint for our perfect, amazing health, our well-being, our happiness, our expression, our creativity, our potential, our purpose, our power, our beauty, all of it, our abundance. And yet, through the human conditioning and the human experience we all signed up for, with some of the lower dynamics such as scarcity programming and survival mindset, many of us have been moving in directions that didn't really obey the laws of our divine blueprint. And what I mean by that is that we don't need to shame or be upset that we have fallen for certain types of conditioning, but rather taking ownership, reclaiming our personal power back, and remembering that now that we are rising in our awareness, especially collectively, we're rising so quickly into these states of higher consciousness, and we have more information available to us, that in this day and age, we can no longer just let ourselves blindly subscribe to certain information that no longer serves us and move in ways that don't honor the truth that our soul knows. And our souls are remembering this ancient wisdom at such a rapid degree. And we know that all these codes of perfect health have been within us. Some people will say, well, you need this because you never know if this is going to happen, or you should do this because you never know if this comes up down the road, and all these things. There's a lot of fear programming out there, even with aging. With aging, you hear people saying, oh, this age, for instance, 35, I don't know if it's changed, but 35 years old was considered a geriatric age for a woman who wants to become pregnant. And I remember hearing that and thinking that's wild, because some women enter their prime during their mid-30s. And so my mindset started to shift when I started to hear about women who got pregnant at 43 and even at 48. It's like, okay, there's other possibilities available to us if we broaden the horizons of our own mind, our thinking, and our belief systems. And this all ties in with shamanism, because a lot of times the path of the shaman is literally breaking down barriers of former systems and points of constriction, limiting beliefs, generational patterns that were passed on, largely through the mind and also the body. And what shamans are really well equipped to do is that they know that they have the power to use the elements around them and to connect to their spirits of divine love and light to help them navigate different life transitions and to help them as they are releasing these limiting beliefs and patterns. It can be a little bit more complex. There's things like the underworld, higher realms, working with different elements around us, whether it's the plants, the mountains, the land, the waters. There's many different elements that shamans can work with. And I wanted to explore this conversation on a deeper level because there have been many shamans who have helped me on my path. And I also come from a maternal lineage of shamans in my mom's side of the family. They are incredible women who are healers in their village. My mom is the only nurse in her family, whereas most other women, they're also incredible too. And they chose to become teachers. And so she became a nurse and a midwife, and her path has been really important for me because I too followed in the path of medicine. And like my mom, we have both had many patients who actually wanted to see us or felt drawn to see us before they passed away, which, for those who don't know, many shamans also do work with helping souls transition to the spiritual realm, to cross over. Also, we help people who are sick or going through life transition, or maybe they're in a void and feeling discomfort and don't know what's next. Shamans are equipped to help people by providing guidance in their lives. And so it's taken me quite some time to own this part of my family history and also my own path in being a shamanic practitioner and healer. And while working with some of these shamans from the Bribri tribe in Costa Rica, as well as some of the shamans from Inca medicine school in Peru, I have learned that master healers are incredible. And what makes them so powerful is that they don't take the credit for what they are helping anyone move through. They always remind you that they are just the bridge, helping you to tap into your own resources, your own power, and to remember who you are. And what I found, especially in the New Age world, is that many people are on a path to becoming a powerful healer or even a shaman, perhaps. However, they're not well equipped to be serving yet. And I feel obligated to talk about this because there's so many vulnerable people who are seeking support and guidance, and they don't actually find the help that they need when they go to such people. And it's because all teachers need to remember that there is a pathway to our own evolution. And before becoming a teacher, it's just like any teacher. Even if you're a teacher in a school system, you can't just feel, oh, I'm gifted, so it's time to do it. Everyone goes through training. And there's people who feel that they might be able to bypass that or just use their life experiences to claim a title and then suddenly say that they're doing this work. And, it just does not work that way. And I want to make that known. I feel like it's a moral obligation, especially seeing what I've seen, both from different communities around me, as well as what I've experienced personally. So 2 years ago, I went to visit the Bribri tribe, which is based in the Talamanca region in Costa Rica. And this is such a beautiful, humble tribe that really just wants to share the wisdom of cacao, something I'll get into in a future episode, as well as harnessing the energy of Mother Nature. So they're very connected to their land and to the different plants, and they grow their own vegetables and crops. And when I learned about their way of living and actually got to spend some time with them for half a day, actually close to a day, I realized that there was something missing in traditional healing practices, which is I really felt that the shaman could see straight into me. And it isn't to say that one spiritual practice is above another or anything like that. It's just that I think shamanism is a tradition that's highly advanced. And so it's not just for anyone. And no one can just claim that title. It's known that you have to go through certain initiations before you can actually turn around and start to teach and share the healing medicine. And so one of the things that I noticed is that I barely had to say anything at all when this shaman just looked at me and knew exactly what was going on. And when he said what he said, something just fully came alive in me. And it wasn't this new idea that he planted in my mind. It was actually something that I already knew, but was afraid at the time to say, to claim for myself. And so that alone was a power transmission, because I did feel that there was something in my solar plexus, which is the area of willpower and motivation and determination, that just started vibrating in me. And there were new things coming my way for the next couple of weeks after. It started happening pretty rapidly, where I was able to create my first online course within 2 weeks. Literally over 60 different videos and meditations and all these things that just came together, called the Goddess Codes. And I'll link that in the show notes below, because it's still one of my favorite creations to this day. And I'm redoing the course right now myself, because it's such a beautiful course that helps remind me of my innate power. And I want to share that with more women in the world. And so I'm remembering all of this, and it's like, wow, there were other healers that I work with that I just didn't get the same results. And so I wanted to open up this conversation to understanding that every shaman is an energy healer. They can work with chakras and energy centers, and they're quite skilled at what they do. It doesn't mean blindly trust anyone who has this title. It means do your research, feel into your own intuition body to see if this person might help you on your path if you feel called to reach out, and then make that informed decision. So every shaman is an energy healer, but not every energy healer is a shaman. And the question I get sometimes is, how do I know if I'm a shaman? And I can't speak to that. Only you will know if you are on a path to become a shaman. Even shamans know that when someone is on that path but hasn't fully claimed it for themselves, or maybe they're not even ready yet, they can't be the ones to tell that person, hey, you're on this path. That person has to awaken to that understanding and that internal knowing for themselves first as they move into that path. Because also, not everyone will commit themselves to the path. It's a path that requires your own evolution to be transmuted. It's as though you can't really create the new earth around you until you are becoming the new earth in motion in real time. And so there's so much being unlocked and coming to the surface as more people realize that there's something beyond the traditional forms of medicine that we've been used to. And why I wanted to bring all these different philosophies into this conversation is because I'm a clinician, and there was a time in my life where I felt, what will people think if I speak about this? Even though I've experienced the benefits in my own life. And I've even witnessed a shaman come into the hospital one time at Columbia to see a patient who had asked to be seen by this person. And what I remember about that patient was he was super artistic. He didn't like being in the hospital. Who does really, right? And he asked for what he wanted, and he knew what he wanted. And when he would speak to me about how having a camera in the hospital was helping him through his healing journey, and having this medicine man come in and work on his spirit, there was something being opened up in me, which was a curiosity, an inquiry, asking, well, what else could there be that's impacting people's lives? We're human and we're also spiritual. And something that I became more attuned to after having worked with palliative care, end-of-life care, hospice, and seeing patients cross over, helping some patients transition to the spiritual realm. I felt something in those moments, which is that this life is so transient. And one of the big core themes for a lot of us in our lives is that we're learning to let go in each moment. And that's truly the path of a shaman. Letting go of all the burdens placed on us by society, by cultural expectations, by what has been considered to be the norm. And if we don't use our awareness and self-mastery to question what doesn't feel right, we'll easily subscribe to beliefs that are being imposed on us. And I feel that this all ties in with where we're going with the healthcare system in this forward-moving path, which is that more people are becoming empowered over their energy, over their spirit, over their mind, their body, the psyche. And so all these different traditions and systems knew something. They were onto something. And they knew that our bodies are infinitely intelligent. For instance, anyone who has experienced physical pain is a signal from the body as a response to a stimulus or an invader or something that the body sensed is not healthy. And so to be able to have that type of response going from the nervous system and then allowing that to be shown through the body in some way is a really beautiful indicator that first, the body is doing what it's supposed to do. It's letting you know what's going on. And second, now giving you the authority to ask yourself, well, what are we going to do about this? And so this is to show that, no, I don't wish this for anyone. And I truly do see a world far out where it will be pain-free as more of us remember our sovereignty and this energy of divine love and light and divine health and well-being, our original blueprint, which we're all moving towards again in our own ways. But this goes to show you how our bodies are so innately intelligent and wise communicators of what's happening internally. And so a lot of these philosophies with ancient wisdom were trying to help us and guide us in learning how to master our energy field, to learn to control our thoughts, not from a place of holding on too tightly, but rather learning, okay, the human mind can come up with bizarre ideas at times and thoughts that don't make sense. And we also have the power to observe and let go, and then come back to what feels like truth, which is that we are love. We are divine beings of love and light. We are spiritual beings having this human experience, and that we are safe to feel. We are safe to exist on this planet. Many of the spiritual teachers and masters who have gone before us knew these universal truths from a place of deep embodiment. And as they were able to release so much of the heaviness and the burdens and these former constructs that didn't serve them or most of humanity, they were able to raise their consciousness to higher vibrations, to higher states of peace, even enlightenment, appreciation, gratitude. And often by being in these higher states and operating and identifying with these higher states, their lives changed through the lens of perception. And so some of you might be familiar with this from A Course in Miracles, which is a beautiful text helping to raise our own consciousness. And there are beautiful words related to Christ consciousness in that book that help us remember that peace is within us. And we do have the ability to access it within us. Where I feel the collective is going is not even a place of preventative medicine, but rather lifestyle medicine. What this means is that for so many decades, maybe even centuries, somehow there's been this shift where there was a period, this is known, where certain physicians didn't even want people to know about the natural remedies and other healing modalities available. And many people started to question the traditional systems when either they weren't feeling better or they were tired of seeing someone for chronic health issues. And what it has changed to in the last several decades is going back to treating the root cause, not across the spectrum for medicine. However, healers, different healing modalities when it comes to the mind, the body, so much of this is becoming available to people, whether it's EFT tapping, meditation, visualization, yoga, Reiki, shamanic healing, retreats. There's a lot of different modalities coming to the forefront. Even there have been people and patients that I've seen who prefer to go to, for instance, a naturopath or a homeopathic doctor. And so there's many different healing modalities that are available and that people are starting to learn and be educated by. It doesn't mean that all the things people teach out there are correct. So I do encourage people to do their research, and what they don't know, ask a trusted source. Ask for qualifications, ask for certifications, ask for experience, get to know people and what they're really about before just signing up for something. And also plugging into your personal power and your intuition and using discernment as to whether something that someone is offering, if it's even right for you. None of what I'm sharing today is being shared as a way as you need this. It's more of an educational tool to understand that this has been part of my path. It's been super helpful for my incredible health and well-being. And given the positive impact it has had on my life, as well as my own clients and students, of course, I would want to share this work. So use your own discernment. And so we're making this shift gradually back to treating the root cause. And then there's also a lot of talk around preventative medicine, which is beautiful. And ultimately, what I see is a world of lifestyle medicine. So this is wellness taken to the next level. Because one of the key aspects that's not often talked about in the wellness space, however, it is making bigger headway now, is spirituality, faith, tending to our energy, learning about things like energetic mastery, and learning how our thoughts impact our bodies. And also thoughts married with emotions, how they create these belief systems that play out into our daily lives. And that if we are living in a world programmed by the beliefs that come from within us, that we also have the power to witness those beliefs, question them, and slowly dismantle them, to then transform them into more empowering beliefs that serve us and humanity. And as more of us are doing this, this is the evolutionary path back to ancient wisdom. And I feel that what I've been reminded, and so many people have been reminded of this, especially people who are living in environments that are heavy and densely saturated with nature. And it's so interesting that I would even say densely saturated, because the truth is this whole planet was pure Mother Earth at one point. For those of us who live in such gorgeous environments, we're reminded that everything we've ever needed comes from within. And nature reminds us of that. There's a reason that there have been mental health benefits as well as physical benefits for people as they're walking in nature, going on different hiking trails. It's because nature reminds us to breathe, to slow down, to relax, and to be. And she goes through her own changes with the seasons, with changing weather. There's different circumstances that can affect her too. And yet she comes back stronger. She's resilient. And she is whole. And she knows this from deep within her. It's an intrinsic knowing. And as we spend time being bathed in her love and witnessing her power, her vastness, whether it's the jungle, the ocean, we are reminded of our own innate wholeness. And that the harmony, the peace, the balance that we may outwardly seek is actually within each and every one of us. And so the world is moving towards ancient wisdom. And dare I say it, the world is returning to ancient wisdom, one awakened person at a time. Elevate your consciousness, and you will transform your life. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Voice That Sees. Please be sure to check out more episodes every other Tuesday on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you listen to your podcast. For additional content, you can follow me on Instagram at The Yoga Movement and YouTube at The Yoga Movement NYC. You can also check out my coaching programs and unique offers on my website at theyogamovementnyc.com to help support your individual and personal transformation. Until next time, be you and be well.